Hi everybody, happy Meatless Monday. I'm Leslie Durso, the vegan chef at the Four Seasons Punta Mita, and today you're in my kitchen and we are going to make my chili with a cornbread topping. It's delicious, it's hearty, and it's really easy. You should have all of these ingredients already on hand in your pantry. So let's get started with the chili. All you need is a big pot, some beans. I've got black beans, kidney beans, and pinto beans that I've just drained and rinsed. These are just canned. And then I've got a can of diced tomatoes. You can use crushed tomatoes, whatever you have. I chopped one onion, one bell pepper, and I like adding a couple tablespoons of pre-made salsa. I have this yummy chipotle salsa. Just make sure that it's not a bean or a corn salsa. So now here's the fun part. I like to put in some mezcal. This is some mezcal tequila that's delicious and smoky and gonna make everything yummy, and all that alcohol is gonna burn off. I also put in some cacao powder, some chocolate powder. If you don't have cacao powder, you could add in a little piece of dark chocolate or some dark chocolate chips, but you don't want anything that's too milky because you don't want any dairy in this. So to my spices are going to be oregano, cumin, garlic, and chili powder. And I'm also gonna do some salt and pepper. And then for liquid, I'm just gonna pour in a couple cups of veg stock that I have. And this is just gonna go on the stove, and I'm gonna bring it to a simmer, let it simmer for about 20-30 minutes while I make that cornbread. All right, my oven is preheating to 350. My chili is on the stove simmering away, and now we're gonna make the cornbread topping. I'm gonna start with my wet ingredients. Now you need a cup of buttermilk, but if you don't have a cup of buttermilk on hand, like I don't, we're gonna make our own. You can take a cup of any kind of milk, dairy or non-dairy, just make sure it's unsweetened, and you're gonna add 1 cup to 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or white vinegar, and just drizzle that in and let it sit for a minute. It'll start to naturally curdle, and that will be your buttermilk. So while that's sitting, I'm gonna mix my dry ingredients. I've got a cup of flour, I've got a cup of fine milled cornmeal, so really any cornmeal will do. I've got some sugar, baking powder, and salt. I'm using Himalayan sea salt, Himalayan mountain salt, which is why it is pink. But obviously, if you use regular salt, it will be white. So I'm just gonna give this a little whisk. Set it aside, and we'll do our wet ingredients. So I've got a cup of applesauce. I always like having applesauce on hand. It's so easy to use in baking, and it keeps forever in the pantry. And then I'm gonna add maple syrup because I just love the warm, rich flavor that maple syrup lends to anything, especially cornbread. And then I've got my buttermilk. So I'm just gonna whisk this and whisk it right in. Whisk the wet ingredients together, and then I'm gonna pour the wet into the dry and continue to whisk. Get this all nice and incorporated. Now this you could bake off just like regular cornbread. It's delicious with some berries and some maple syrup in the morning, or warmed up with your favorite butter as a topping for dinner. It's also really good if you want to put some cinnamon in it to make it more of a dessert kind of flavor batter. So now this is done, and I'm just gonna layer everything together. I've got my chili that's all cooked up in my cast iron skillet, and now I'm just gonna carefully pour some of this cornbread batter over the top of it. And now, just to be fun and fancy, in my pantry I also found a little can of pickled jalapeños, so I'm just gonna put those right on top in a pretty little circle. And into the oven this is going to go. All done, and it smells like heaven. Okay, we're just gonna let it cool off for a minute before we dig into it, but that smell is amazing and everyone is gonna love this dish. I hope that you enjoy.